corporation and the government have said that by converting 4 million addresses to CMBs, they're going to save a bunch of money, and that's about a quarter of the addresses. But that's not quite the truth, is it?
And yet we have this Liberal government whose intent to put it on the chopping block so they can give tax cuts to the ultra-wealthy, so they can give bonuses to the CEOs, because they knew at the end of the day that these gutless Liberals were going to come in and do the dirty work.
This whole experience is a shit show. How the fuck can Canada Post be insolvent if their top asset is still raking in profit after profit after profit, year after fucking year?
Customers and Canadians should get to decide if their mail is going to get to the door.
The Silver Bullet Podcast with your host, letter carrier and shop steward, Pirate Jim.
My daddy was a miner, and I'm a miner's son. And I'll stick with the Union till every battle's won. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
With gratitude, mutual respect, and reciprocity, we acknowledge the ancestral home, culture, and oral teachings of the Treaty 7 signatories, which includes the Siksika Nation, Piikani Nation, Kainai Nation, the Ayithka Stoney Nakoda Nation, consisting of the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Good Stoney bands, and the people of the Tsuut'ina Nation. We also recognize the Métis people of Alberta Region 3, who call Treaty 7 their home. We respect all people who share, celebrate, and care for the Treaty 7 territory of Southern Alberta, and we honor the original caretakers of the land.
Aloha kako, hello everyone, welcome to the Silver Bullet Podcast. It's strike day 321. This show's been a big one to get together. I got a whole bunch of clips and things are moving so fast that I go, oh, there's a new one, I should use that. I knew that. Gotta just put out a show and stop collecting things and do something. My goodness. So on today's show, we're going to have co-host my brother Brom, the president of CUPW in Saskatoon. And he'll be here as my co-host in a little bit. But first, we're going to watch a video of what I did this weekend. My goodness. I just got phlegmy. We're going to watch something, my weekend escape out of town, watch the video for that. And then we'll have, oh yeah, first we're going to have James Ball update us. So here he is. This is our
Hey folks,
updates.
Saturday, September 27th. It's still a beautiful day. Today it's a beautiful day because I'm learning things about Canada that I didn't know. So the corporation and the government have said that by converting 4 million addresses to CMBs, they're going to save a bunch of money, and that's about a quarter of the addresses. But that's not quite the truth, is it? So, according to Google, and the numbers are pretty accurate because of statistics and census, there's about 7.8 million single-dwelling homes. And that means that over half of single-dwelling homes in Canada get their mail delivered to the front door. But they don't want you to know that. They want you to think, oh, it's a privileged few that get it, only a quarter of people. But, well, who makes up the rest of the people? Well, people in apartment buildings, and they get mail delivered to panels. There's also communities that are small, and they get mail delivered to their post office, and they get a post office box. But there's also communities that are small, get mail delivered to a post office box, but have grown over the years, but Canada Post has never upped their service. They've never increased their service. So there are communities of 5,000 people going to a post office to collect their mail. So it's something to think about, and the way that they've mischaracterized a lot of this stuff. So over half of single-dwelling homes currently get door-to-door service of mail. And that's the standard, is that over half of them do. So probably 55, 60% of the single-dwelling homes get mail delivered to their homes. So why are we changing that? Why are we reducing it to be the only delivery service that doesn't bring the products that you order or the products that are being delivered to your house to your home? All right? You guys have a great day.
So there you go. Oops. That's how it goes. So yeah, there's some math for you to start off the show. Hope that doesn't hurt your head on a Tuesday evening. Yeah. There's always something funky with the numbers. And we'll get to that later, I think. Right now, we're going to go on my little trip here. And James gets to make an appearance again. What am I doing? There we go. Ta-da. What? Ta-da. Okay. Well, that's not so good. I can't seem to get that to work. Why don't we... Well, let's talk to Matthew Green. How about?
What a night, what a night, what a night. What's going on, Canada? This is Matthew Green, your very proud former NDP member of Parliament here. We are live and direct. As you can see, we are down at the Millen Road Depot for Canada Post, standing in solidarity with Local 548 CUPW workers in direct action with workers across the country defending our public services, defending post delivery, day to day, door to door, street to street, neighborhood to neighborhood. They are out there providing a service for Canadians as they have been for decades. And yet we have this Liberal government whose intent to put it on the chopping block so they can give tax cuts to the ultra wealthy, so they can give bonuses to the CEOs. We're here today to defend not just workers, but services in rural areas, seniors, shut-ins, people who require Canada Post on the day-to-day delivery. And we're here with some comrades. Let folks know who you are, where you're from, and what you're all about.
Solidarity.
Yeah, you're definitely all about solidarity. Jiva, why don't you let folks know kind of what we got going on?
Hi, I'm Jiva. I'm the local grievance officer for the CUPW Hamilton Local. We're on strike right now. This is a direct result of yesterday's announcement by the minister responsible for Canada Post. We're not happy with your decision.
Yeah, and it should be noted that it's not just yesterday. We were here in December, right? This has been an ongoing process. We knew that this government was going to drag its heels, not respect the collective bargaining process, allow the management to operate in bad faith, to not come to the table, to not negotiate, because they knew at the end of the day that these gutless Liberals were going to come in and do the dirty work. And so we're here today, and for Canadians that are watching the news, they see, all this money, is being lost, that it's not profitable. We know on the front lines that a lot of the expenditures, the mismanagement on the capital expenditure. So we're talking about all those cars, those fleets of cars over there, the new buildings that were built, all those costs, they're trying to put it on your backs, aren't they? They're trying to basically make it seem like those expenditures were losses in the service when really those aren't operational expenses, are they?
Not at all.
So when it comes to the actual bargaining, I know you all are fighting for a fair deal. Talking with you all on the front lines, you worked through COVID without a contract. You operated in good faith. Why don't you just talk a little bit about what it was like to kind of go through that process without a contract, especially when everybody was on lockdown and they required, like as an emergency function, Canada Post, and then after COVID, just to be kind of tossed aside by management and now thrown under the bus by the Minister Lightbound and this Liberal government.
We were working hard. We were working around the clock to get everybody their parcels. People who couldn't get out because of COVID, we were there. We worked tirelessly. It was a difficult time for everyone, and we were there for the Canadian public to make sure that everybody got the stuff that they needed in the mail. And now that's all forgotten.
And I know that a lot of times when it comes to these types of negotiations, workplace conditions are a big issue. Jiva, I mean, you mentioned that you're in the grievances. Why don't you talk about maybe some of the issues that you were raising in negotiations, just about like the way in which they're continuing to pile work on, kind of, give you less time to do it, and so on.
Yeah, so they've been short staffing throughout letter carrier world and the plants, and they expect each worker to do 2 or 3 people's jobs on the line. Actually, Robin actually works on the belts, and she can probably provide some more stuff that's been happening.
Well, I can say that this
Go,
whole
Robin, go.
This whole experience is a
She
shit
rocks.
show, and I want to say that personally, after hearing the minister speak and talk about recurrent bailouts from the government in terms of Canada Post insolvency, but he didn't even mention the elephant in the fucking room about Purolator and how Canada Post owns 91% of Purolator. How the fuck can Canada Post be insolvent if their top asset is still raking in profit after profit after profit, year after fucking year? And, the system is supposed to be designed so that the profits of fucking Purolator are supposed to recycle back into Canada Post coffers. So while Purolator is profiting during our fucking demise, where the fuck is that money? Where's that money going to? They're electrifying the fleet. They're promoting their executives. They're fucking depleting the public service. And Doug Ettinger needs to fucking go.
You heard it.
The whole fucking
Yes.
board needs to go.
You heard it.
Fire them all.
You heard it. And you know what? Like, not only are they depleting the
I got
assets.
distracted.
No,
Not
that's real. Your job's on the line here, and you have a government who is, basically siphoning off it, and they're absolutely taking monies from Canada Post and pushing it into Purolator, and then showing it as a loss to Canada Post. It is wild, and this is liberalism 101. The first thing they do is they underfund it. Then when they underfund it, they understaff it, they create chaos, they blame it, and then they privatize it. Those are the ways in which this Liberal government continues to put our public assets, our crown corporations, on the chopping block. So when you talk about like the work that's happening here with CUPW across the country, this is the front lines of public service. It's Canada Post today, it's healthcare tomorrow, it's education the day after that. That is what is happening right now, Canada. It's time to wake up. So they're going to be picketing wherever you are. If you're watching this, I'm encouraging you. Stop by, get some coffee, get some donuts, stop by a picket line, bring some solidarity and support. I'm out here today. Can you grab that? We got our Hamilton Center. You don't got to be a member of Parliament to be on the front lines of a picket line for an NDP picket line. Every single New Democrat across the country needs to get on a picket line today and stand in solidarity with these workers. Bring your friends, bring your family. When you see them, honk. If you can drop off supplies, do that. That is our duty as Canada's only Labour Party in this country. Whether we only have 7 people in the House, we have thousands of people across the country. So that is my call to you. Get on the picket lines, support these workers, support public service. Peace.
Solidarity.
Solidarity.
Solidarity. So.
Solidarity.
So. Solidarity. So. Solidarity.
Woo! Look at that. Welcome to the show. We're live. This is the first time that Bram and I will be live.
Amazing. Thank you for having me, Jim. This
Hey,
is
no
awesome.
worries. So that was Matthew, and he was on the line, and I think he came in there at the end. But what I was going to say is that Matthew and I ran in the election, so we are both candidates, and candidates across the country right now for the NDP. We are mobilizing to come to the lines and bring goodies and such, and come to MP offices with you. If you're looking for someone to come with you to your MP office or to get a meeting, make sure you find out who your local NDP candidate is. You can talk to me. I can help you out with that. And we're all gung ho here. We really want to get things going. Let me know. We're gonna organize these things. But anyway, the reason I bring that up is because we have another candidate who's gonna. If I could get this, this is Jiwan. I don't know what happened happened there? That got cut off there. So I don't know. So how you doing?
No, I'm doing okay. I mean, considering the current state of situations, I'm doing okay. Holding in there.
Yeah. Were you just out? Like what was your day today?
Today we honored the Truth and Reconciliation, the Day for Truth and Reconciliation, and so we, every local did it differently. Our local decided to take the day to do that rather than have a line. So we did that and spent time in the community doing that, and that was a decision made by the local executive.
Excellent. Well, what I want to do now, since you're here, is I want to show you the video from the weekend. I'm not sure if you've seen some of this already, but James Ball spoke up in Edmonton. I went up there and, let's just play the thing instead of talking about it.
All right, aloha kako. Well, it's Sunday, day 35 of our continuing strike, CUPW versus Canada Post, and not doing a live show right now because I'm going to Edmonton. I'm going to go and Heather McPherson, who's been a huge support for me and for us, she's making an announcement today at 2:30 in Edmonton. So I'm going there and I'm taking the bus. Although I'm in a car right now, I'm going to park at a bus station, sort of, and then take a bus to Edmonton. Then I get to use Edmonton Transit. So this is going to be an adventure for Jim. I've never taken Edmonton Transit. I've only driven to Edmonton and gotten lost trying to get out of Edmonton. It's a long story and it's a funny one. One day I'll tell it. But so I won't have to go downtown in my car and get lost this time. Instead, I'll be on a bus that knows where they're going and I'll just be lost. Anyhow, we'll see. Let's see what happens.
One neighbor wanted.
Yeah, I kind of go through my shirts.
The other wall, the other neighbor. Yes. Hey, shirts and hats and toques and all sorts of stuff. And I'm like,
Hello, everyone. My name is James Ball, and I'm a proud postal worker. I'm also the president of the Canadian Union of Postal Workers, representing over 2,500 members in Edmonton and our affiliate offices stretching from Hinton in the west, Lac La Biche in the north, Wainwright in the east, and Camrose and Wetaskiwin in the south, and all of the little places in between that everybody forgets exists. It's been a crazy weekend, but it's also a very beautiful day. I have been presented with a short window of which to speak with you about our struggle. But hey, it's all of you and me, what's not to love, right? So when talks broke down in November of 2024, things were falling apart around me. My local president had passed away in a very short time from cancer. As vice president, a position I had held for only a short time, I was thrust into the position of acting president. All around me were people looking for instructions, wanting me to find solutions to their problems, some general, some intensely personal. I was overwhelmed, but we had a good team, as wounded as it was. Although those 5 weeks on the line, all throughout it, there was this voice, and it kept saying, "How can I help you?" That was Heather. I didn't know what to do with that voice at the time. I'm still not always sure what to do when people ask me what they can do for me. But she never stopped asking. We tried to get her onto the work floor after the strike while mail piled up and Canada Post refused to move it. But Canada Post wouldn't let a member of Parliament visit the work floor to see their lives.
Shame.
Heather has stood tall for postal workers, in fact, for the working class. and she has only ever asked us what we needed her to say. Not to grandstand, but genuinely, what do you need Parliament to hear? On Thursday, the day the strike started, Minister Lightbound made unilateral changes to the working conditions of postal workers that will result in the decimation of tens of thousands of jobs. He made changes to our contract without negotiation. I don't even think that's legal. Canada Post at this moment is no longer going to present us with the offer on Friday like they had promised. They are instead going back to retool it to fit what Minister Lightbound has said. Minister Lightbound has become an arbitrator for the corporation, and all he sees are cuts. What we at CUPW see is a future where Canada Post's massive network of over 4,000 facilities and retail outlets can be used for the betterment of this country, to bring services to rural, remote, and Indigenous communities. We see a future for Canada Post and all of its employees to help bring in a new age of prosperity for Canada. The federal government gave $16 billion to Volkswagen to not build a battery plant. We have to pay back the $1 billion they gave us. It's a loan. Heather has been a stalwart supporter, and we never needed to ask. She has been on our picket lines in the darkest and coldest days of December. No Liberal or Conservative has ever visited my lines. I'm a simple man, and I believe in action over promises. Heather has never promised me anything, but she has taken action whenever possible. I support those who support the working class, and Heather has my support.
When I was a kid, birthdays were a big deal. My mom didn't just throw parties. She made sure there was something special that I would remember. But what made them really different wasn't the cake or the theme, which were great, but it was the guest list. Every single kid in my class, regardless of who, was invited, always. She wanted everyone to feel included and no one to ever feel left out, because to her, community isn't about who's popular or who fits in, but rather it's about making sure everyone has a place. That's who she is. She sees where things aren't fair and works to fix them. But not just for me, for every kid, every family, and every person who needs a voice. From birthday parties to Parliament, my mom has always taught me the same lesson. Make room for others and fight for the people who don't have it as easy as you. So with that, it is my privilege to introduce my mom, Heather McPherson.
If you should fall to pieces, you know I'll pick them up. There are so many reasons I'm never gonna get enough. I'll carry you away. I'll do anything for you. My bones may break, but I'll never be untrue. If you should leave this country, you know I'll come to you, because you always love me. Oh, what I wouldn't do. Oh, what I wouldn't do.
Wow. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time to be here today. I appreciate that so much. Thank you to everyone at La Cité for this beautiful space. You folks look great out there. You look really, really great. Thank you to Louis. Thank you so much for the powerful words. I appreciate it so much. To James, to Tarek. Thank you to Rachel. Thank you for where's Rachel? There she is. Thank you for reminding New Democrats that we can win and that it's important that we win. Because when we win, we make life better for Canadians. And I want to thank my kids too. This is rough, but they are the two most important reasons why I'm up there. And I couldn't do that without them. I couldn't do that without my family. You know, my mom and dad, my brothers, their partners, my nieces and nephews who are here, and of course my husband Duncan. I couldn't do that without the support of my family, and I'm so grateful. I'm also deeply grateful for so many of you coming out today. You know, there are people in this room, there are people that I see that have been friends with me my entire life, and I am so grateful that you took the time to come and be with me. And for those of you, you know that my family wasn't terribly political. I don't come from a long line of New Democrats. In fact, you know, my dad, Duke, he was a truck driver. He had a trucking company. And my mom stayed home with us, and our family was busy. There were swimming lessons, and there were hockey practices, and we had to get homework done, and that, you know, you had to get dinner on the table. And we went on camping trips and ski trips, and we had great memories that we made at the lake in the summers. And for those that know, you'll also know we have this huge sort of chaotic family. And we would have these big dinners at Christmas, at Thanksgiving, these big dinners where all sorts of people would show up. And we never, ever said there wasn't room. You know, we found a way to make sure there's a seat at the table for everyone. And I remember this one time when there were so many people, and we actually took the doors off the hinges, and we set the doors up on stands, and we had this table that started in the kitchen, and it went through the hall and into the living room. And, you know, you had to be careful you didn't get the door, the section where the handle was. But you know, we made room. We made room for everyone at that table. And that idea has stuck with me. The idea of bringing people in, the idea of making that table bigger. And I have to tell you right now, sometimes politics doesn't feel like that. Right now, politics excludes people. You know, Canadian families are struggling right now. Family budgets are stretched, communities are divided, and fairness can feel a little bit like an afterthought. And that's why I got into politics. I got into politics to change that, to fight for families like mine, to fight for families like yours, for workers who deserve respect, for communities that look out for each other. That's the kind of Canada I believe in. You know, Tommy Douglas said, "Dream no little dream." And Jack Layton told us, "Don't let them tell you it can't be done." And Rachel Notley promised change. And when she was the premier of this province, she delivered that change. And that's who we are as New Democrats. That's the tradition we stand in. You know, the party that has always been inspired by big ideas. You know, things like universal health care. That was the New Democrats. Things like childcare for every family. That was the New Democrats. And we need to get back to that. We need to stop shrinking into some sort of purity test. We need to stop pushing people away, and we need to invite people in. We need to have more people at the table, and we need to listen to them. You know, when I was a kid, my family, we didn't talk about politics, but my parents lived their values. They taught us that belief in basic fairness, in hard work, in taking care of your neighbor, if your neighbor was down the street or around the world. My parents taught us the importance of community and the importance of showing up for others. And whether you call those prairie values, whether you call those worker values, or whether you call those Canadian values, those are values that every single one of us in this room can get behind, and those are the values that make me a New Democrat. And so today I stand in front of you, and I say I'm honored to say my name is Heather McPherson, and I am running to be the next leader of Canada's New Democratic Party. Thank you. And I have to tell you, I am a proud Albertan. And I am a proud Canadian. Our country isn't perfect, but our willingness to admit that and our commitment to making it better, to making it fairer, fill me with pride and fills me with hope. And it's proof to me of why we need a strong New Democratic Party, fighting for things like good jobs for young people, jobs with a living wage that keeps up with the cost of living. Homes that families can afford to live in. Public services like healthcare that all Canadians can access. And yes, we need a federal government that makes life more affordable for all Canadians. And if you want pharmacare, if you want dental care, if you want better health care, you have to elect more New Democrats. If you want a party that fights for workers' rights, if you want a party that brings forward anti-scab legislation, that makes sure that the government can't use back to work legislation, you elect New Democrats. And if you want a party that actually understands what working Canadians are going through, then you elect more New Democrats. Danielle Smith and Pierre Poilievre, and hard to tell what crowd I'm in, and others across the political spectrum, they thrive on division. They turn politics into an us versus them, a rural versus urban, workers versus the environment. That's not my vision for the New Democratic Party. We don't grow by pushing people out. We grow by bringing people together. That's the path that Jack laid out. That is the path that Rachel paved. And like them, we need to make space for everyone. We need to fight for fairness, and we need to stay true to our values, and we need to build a competitive and winning team to make sure that there are more New Democrats fighting for Canadians and delivering for Canadians. With NDP governments in Manitoba and British Columbia and official oppositions in Alberta, Saskatchewan, Ontario, Nova Scotia, we know how to win as New Democrats. And we win when we work together. We win when we build a federal party with the provinces, not when we pull away from them. And conservatives target rural seats and Western seats. And the Liberals target, urban seats and Eastern seats. But the NDP isn't a regional party. We are Canada's party. We were built by farmers and urban workers coming together, and we need to reconnect with both. We need to show Canadians that we can make our party stronger. We can make our country stronger. We can make our party and our country more united and ready to lead. Chaque voix compte. Les personnes qui vivent dans une situation de langue minoritaire méritent d'avoir quelqu'un de leur côté. Je l'ai fait ici en me battant pour le campus Saint-Jean. Et je vais continuer à le faire partout au pays. Comme parti, on a aussi vu que les gens du Québec sont prêts à nous appuyer quand ils voient qu'on va les appuyer aussi. Moi, je crois qu'on peut retrouver cette force si on s'engage ensemble. When Linda Duncan first won here, We did it by organizing. We did it by knocking on doors, by making calls, by building our base. And as we've grown, we've built that further. We've shared our resources. We've hired organizers to get things done. We made Edmonton Strathcona the strongest NDP seat in the country. And we've worked hard to elect other New Democrats. We've done good work together. But the last election reminded us that we have more work to do. Blake Desjardins should be a member of parliament in this country. And Trisha and Omar and Leslie and Susan and so many other of our NDP candidates should be members of parliament. So yes, we need to change. Not what we believe, but how we talk about it and who we talk to. The key to building a winning campaign, it's in communities. It's not in Ottawa. It's not in back rooms in Ottawa. We need year-round regional organizing teams. We need more resources for the grassroots, training for volunteers. We need to invest in our members and trust our base again. That's why I'm running, to open doors, to bring people together, and to deliver real change for working Canadians. Rien ne pourra jamais remplacer la force de militants sur le terrain, et personne ne devrait jamais faire obstacle à cette force. We need to open doors and make sure that there's room at the table for new members who are finding a party that fights for them, for long-time members who know that as New Democrats, we can do better. People deserve better than a conservative government and a conservative prime minister wearing a liberal jersey. People deserve better than a conservative party led by Pierre Poilievre. And as leader, I will make the NDP a viable choice again, a choice that unites, that delivers on the promise of good jobs, of wages that keep up, of homes people can afford, of public services that we can count on, and a government that has your back no matter who you are. More seats means more results, and I'm running because I know how to grow our movement. Every fight I've taken on, from protecting water in Treaty 8 to stopping coal mining in the Rocky Mountains, to calling for justice in Ukraine and Palestine, to standing up for jobs here at home, I've done it out of a belief of fairness, and I've done it bringing people together. And that's what we need to do. That's what we need to do. We need to organize, we need to show up, and we need to fight for everyone, because fairness anywhere makes us stronger everywhere. It means ensuring genuine reconciliation through Indigenous-led solutions right here at home. And it means ending the cycle of the rich getting richer while more and more families struggle to get by. You know, we don't have the luxury of waiting. People are counting on us now for jobs, for help making ends meet, for fairness, for hope, and yes, for change. And that change starts with us. An election could come as soon as this spring. I mean, the budget's on November 4th. It could come even sooner. And the NDP needs a leader that is ready now, ready to hold the government accountable in the House of Commons, ready to organize and campaign across this country to welcome more people to our table, and ready to win more seats, to give New Democrats across Canada more power to fight for the change that Canadians are counting on. I'm ready. I'm ready to get us there. And I have been traveling across this country, and I will tell you, if you couldn't tell by that, you know, I've been in Vancouver, in Halifax, I've been in Montreal, I've been in Hamilton, I've been across Alberta, I've been across Canada, and New Democrats are ready. I'm ready. I have a proven track record of bringing people together, and together, all of us here, we can win. You know, we're New Democrats. We know how to work hard. We know what to do. Because politics does not have to be small. It doesn't have to be closed. Cuts and cruelty don't have to be the only options. Canadians deserve better. We owe people. We owe people better. And better is possible. So join us. Show up. Bring a chair. Bring a story. Bring a neighbor. And let's build this bigger table together. Let's get to work. Thank you.
Shoot. There was a really good interview yesterday with Jim Gallant that I wanted to play, but I don't think if this is not working for my other thing, it's not going to work for that. So why don't we instead, let's break down. Okay. I'm going to play something from CBC. So set this up. Andrew Wang. I'm not sure. Did you watch any of Andrew Wang's stuff back during the strike in December?
I believe so. Yeah. If
Yeah.
it's the person that I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. He did this whole big breakdown of how Canada Post is dying and all the rest. Well, this is his one, his little quick one. There's a longer one, but this is a quick cut of it. But what I'm trying to show, I guess, is how CBC specifically, when they, especially Andrew Wang, when he did his thing back in December, a lot of, all the information he got was from Canada Post, and it was always the same old thing. It was losses, 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 and never discussing like how to make money, you know? So, which is our side, right? I guess is the way I want to put it, is our side. Mm-hmm. So this is the continuation, and it'll be interesting.
Okay.
But the fact of the matter is that Canada Post had to take out a $1 billion loan earlier this year just to keep it from complete financial collapse. And remember that record loss last year? I didn't tell you, it would have been much higher if Canada Post hadn't chopped off 2 of its fingers, selling all of its shares in SCI and Innova Post. They do logistics and IT, respectively, sold in the spring of 2024. The proceeds of those sales, they really needed. You can find in Canada Post's own annual report, the corporation selling pieces of itself worth about $350 million. All that just to limit its losses that year to just under $1 billion.
It's not a static situation. The number of letters mailed declines year after year. Their market share loss in parcels gets bigger and bigger year by year, which means the deficits are going to get bigger and bigger year by year. This year was $1 billion. Next year it could be $1.5 billion or $2 billion. 3 years from now it might be $3 billion.
So how do you save an operation that loses millions of dollars every day?
Yeah, of course. It's always funny to hear that. You know, the discussion on losses. You know, the $1 billion loan. You know, obviously, it's kind of funny to hear when the loan that came to bail out Canada Post. You know, you sort of think back at all these different recessions and all these different times in history. We gave money to large companies, Volkswagen and these places and these other companies, and they weren't loans; they were just given to them. But yet, when it comes to the people, it's a loan. And when you actually break it down, $1 billion loan, it ends up being something like $33 per taxpayer. When there was an actual survey done, and people were actually willing to pay it just to get rid of that, right? So it's actually not even a very big issue, the $1 billion loan. It sucks that we had to get to that point. But you always hear people like Ian Lee who was,
Yep.
I believe that was Ian Lee, right? I
It
didn't know
was,
if
yeah.
that was but it looked like Ian Lee, and talking about the decline in letter mail and the percent loss in parcels. I mean, it's, I keep having to say that to everybody that I see. It's not the decline in letter mail that's put us here. It's the investments from the CEO. It's, of course, the large bloated bonuses and all the rest of the stuff that comes from the top. But they're doing this on purpose, right? The percentage of loss in parcels alone, you'd think would get a CEO fired, just from the fact that before the pandemic, we had over 60% parcel share. And then after the pandemic, we have less. It was about 20% or something like that. So that's bad management. That's not us. That's not you and me. That's not letter carriers. That's not the communities, the people that are going to face the losses of this new plan. It's not because of us that they've gotten to this place. And so when you start the premise with how are we going to save a bleeding company? Well, best way to do that would be to stop at the top there, from the people that are spending and putting us into this position.
And marketing, that's what I keep saying over and over and over, is we need somebody to do some sales here and market. And well, and of course the hemorrhaging to Purolator doesn't help much. Speaking of Purolator, that's the big thing, and I'm so glad we're doing it. It's like, I'm not sure if people watching out there, because the show is kind of not really just for letter carriers right now. We're trying to get our message out to everybody out there of what's going on, because I've been posting like crazy over the last since Thursday, and a lot of the comments that come back, the ones that are the most aggravating and frustrating are the ones that the people just don't understand what's going on. They don't understand what's going on behind the scenes because they watch stuff like that CBC stuff where it's like, oh, blah, 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 blah. We got to cut this. We got to cut that, that. And there's never any thought process or creativity on how to transform and expand it. Because, we know why. But anyway, so now we're going after the Purolator part of it, because I'm so happy that we're really ramming that out there about the ownership and all those things. So lately we've been picketing Purolator plants. Has that been happening in Saskatoon yet?
Yeah, we had one on Monday.
Monday?
And, it was successful. Yeah. All right, well, that's yesterday, I guess.
Yeah. I think this one here is Calgary's line yesterday in the morning.
Us holding up the trucks and Purolator, Calgary local.
I think some of us did donuts or so. Notice how they're like, they don't have Purolator on those trucks. Purolator labels, do they?
I noticed.
And then
that's great to see. That's great to see.
Yeah.
We got some pretty good information from them.
Oh yeah? Interesting. Let me pause this. What was this information?
Well, it was just interesting to hear. I guess I shouldn't preface it with too much, into it. But, it was talking to the members there, they were letting us know that, their management had seen us and that they were giving them that in their little 5-minute floor talk or whatever to watch out for us and to try to go around back. And of course we had all this, but they also said that, this is very third hand, but they mentioned that there were some couriers that they're using to bring mail in, and it's just, it's third party couriers. It's not Purolator necessarily, these trucks that are coming in with Canada Post parcels. And so it's nothing that, that we've gotten in terms of proof, but it's certainly, they were willing to give us some information. I thought that was really interesting because there was a lot of support for it because, of course, the Teamsters, obviously are the union there, but, they supported us. But many of these members are not aware of what's actually happening. It was not a problem from the driver's side. It was management that had a problem with it.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Interesting. Well, this was Montreal's Purolator protest. And then we got some creative stuff happening that I like. They cut them off pretty quick there. I would have loved
Sure,
to see the end of
letter
that.
mail has declined, but Canada Post was leading the parcel industry not too long ago. Parcels are the future of the post office, and they should be strengthening the public service.
Instead, management is sabotaging that success. They're shifting contracts and customers to Purolator, a company that Canada Post owns 91% of. And the CEO sits on both boards. And while Canada Post bleeds, Purolator's profits soar.
Parcels used to be the driver of growth for Canada Post, but in the second quarter of 2025, parcel revenue plunged 36.7% and volumes dropped 36.5%, all while Purolator profit. Why is this segment being sabotaged?
That's not competition. That's a setup. It weakens postal workers and undermines our public post office. Our fight is not with Purolator workers. Our fight is for a strong postal service that serves everyone.
Hands off my post office. Canada Post belongs to the people, not corporate interest. Write your MP today and tell them, save our public service.
And part 2.
Why are postal workers taking action at Purolator? Because our public postal service is being weakened, while its majority-owned affiliate is thriving. And workers and the public are paying the price.
Purolator is more than 90% owned by Canada Post Corporation. That means the same corporation responsible for protecting our national mail system is also profiting from a private courier subsidiary.
In the second quarter of 2025, Canada Post reported a loss before taxes of over $400 million. Management blamed the drop in parcel volumes on labor uncertainty and customers moving to other carriers. When the public post office suffers, while its affiliate profits, postal workers have good reason to ask, who is management really looking out for? Canadian Union of Postal Workers has been clear. Canada Post is pushing business towards Purolator. That's the union's position, and it's supported by what we see in the financial numbers.
Purolator is also investing heavily in consumer campaigns, everything from national advertisements to giveaways at people's mailboxes. At the same time, Canada Post, well, they're telling customers that there's uncertainty about using this. That contrast speaks volumes.
Now, we're not accusing anyone of breaking any laws. However, it does beg the question, is our Canadian Postal Service being hollowed out to make way for some private entity? Now, if that is the case, then we all need to be concerned.
That's why we picket Purolator, to demand transparency, to defend good jobs, and to protect the public post office that serves everyone.
Hands off my post office. Canada Post belongs to the people, not corporate interest. Write your MP today and tell them, save our public service.
Woohoo. Yeah, so
Amazing.
I'm loving that.
Amazing.
And I'm actually kind of using it right now for a little segue because I am officially telling people about my disclosure to the PSIC. And it involves Purolator, which is why I kind of got that going. So what I'm doing to people out there is I've sent in a bunch of, I've sent in a disclosure where I've basically exposing all these things like Purolator, the holding back mail and not staffing and all these things. And we're going to do something about it. So those of you who are postal workers, and I don't know, even actually those people out there who are getting mail from people you would normally get mail regularly through Canada Post, you might be getting some mail in Purolator envelopes and such. If that's happened to you, and perhaps maybe you took a picture of it, send it in for more evidence for us. So this is the contact information of where you send your information to the whistleblowers right here. 1587-288-7504. And I hope you can see the whistleblowers at pseudomail.com. I wish I could zoom in on there, but so I've submitted the disclosure already, and it takes 90 days for them to, it's supposed to take 90 days for them to assign somebody to our case. And then they go through the evidence, and if they can find cause to investigate further, they will. And from there, there's a whole bunch of things that could happen. So please, if you have anything that you think could be evidence to help us bring down Doug Edinger, then send it to the whistleblowers. I'll just put that up there one more time quickly. The whistleblowers, 587-288-7504. The whistleblowers at pseudomail.com. So ta-da, there's that.
That's such good work, Jim. I mean, it's so important to be done. You know, it reeks of collusion. It reeks of conflict of interest. It reeks of trying to Brother Atif there, who made those videos, said it very correctly. They're trying to hollow it out, and they're trying to do this on purpose. And so to have nothing done during any of this time and to not bring this stuff forward would be a major mistake. And so real big kudos to you, Jim.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, it's the best part, I shouldn't say the best part, but I've been obsessing about this, right, for 9 months. And literally, like, I wake up in the morning and try to think of other ways, other evidence, anything I can do. And to finally see some of the things that I've been talking about over and over and over and writing over and reworking in my statements and such, to see it happening now. We're actually seeing, like those videos we just watched, that people are actually finally hearing about the stuff. So when I see comments, when you're going back to, you guys, you don't deserve, you're just paper boys, blah, 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 blah. I just want to go, oh my God, it's like we got to start from zero with some of these people, because that's so not to me, that, like, it's not, like, people can't grasp the concept yet of closing down post offices. To me, that's the thing that should trigger. And when I also see comments of people in small towns saying, oh, well, I've had to drive to get my mail for 25 years. That's no big deal. It's going to be a big deal because it's going to be worse. And I don't think they can really understand how much worse it's going to be, because we don't know how much worse it's going to be. Like, this whole
have an idea. We don't know.
No, exactly. Well, I was going to go through and break down more of the stuff that I'm accusing Doug of, but really it's mismanagement of funds. Like, basically, if you have a business plan and you're following it, how can then you all of a sudden say you're losing money and we're going out of business when you were planning to spend this from the beginning? I've written business plans. I've had businesses. I've followed business plans. And yeah, I mean, usually you deviate and you always have to come back and focus on your plan. But the stuff they did that they said in their plan they were going to do, they did. So where are the sales?
Absolutely.
Is what I always say. So let's hear, speaking of which, let's hear what Mr. Hamilton has to say yesterday about our little situation. I got to make it live here.
I don't think it's any surprise we need to be a leaner organization.
What does that mean, though? Because I think a lot of union members will look at this and say, so is my job in danger right now?
Well, first off, our employees that have, with CUPW, that have more than 5 years, have job security for life. They can never be laid off even if we don't have work for them.
Okay, so this is another thing. There was this impression that I had this conversation with someone where they thought, oh, well, you guys can't get fired. Like, no, you guys just make mistakes all the time, and after 5 years, you can't get fired. So, like, no. You can get fired for doing stuff wrong, right?
I heard that too, and somebody had asked me about that and said, is that real? And so you can take it from me as a local president and anybody else that's been in the situation, people get fired. And there's a disciplinary procedure, obviously, throughout our collective agreement. People do get fired. This is not, some miracle job that you can never get fired, but we do obviously have the benefit of representation, and they can't just indiscriminately fire you. And it's also wrong to say that they can't be laid off, because when this happened last time, when the CMB conversion happened in 2013 to 2015, I was just reading an article. The Prince Albert local president was talking about how in Prince Albert, which was one of the cities that went full CMB, and it's a small local with I don't even think 100 members. They lost 10. The last time when that happened. And I remember reading articles on Calgary as well, because there was a section of it that was converted, and there was, it was like 60 or something like that from a depot. And, the job losses will happen for sure. They do have a clause to surplus people into, another community in a certain radius, but if there's no work there, That's what a layoff.
Yeah, exactly. When you said they don't lay people off, yeah, but they also cut down inside workers and don't fill positions that people have left and all that kind of stuff. They doesn't talk about those things.
Exactly. So he's incorrect in saying that he's actually not speaking the truth there.
There you go.
So let's put that to the side. But as we move forward, 14,000 employees just within CUPW are going to retire over the next 5 years. So as we make changes, this isn't about just reducing headcount. It is saying, look, when we move to community mailboxes, it takes fewer to deliver to a community mailbox than deliver to the door. It's just you're driving in a truck, you can go farther, you can carry more. So we will be a leaner organization providing a service that most Canadians won't really notice a lot of differences in, but we have to change.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that gets cut off, which is okay because we don't want to hear him anymore.
No, it's never fun listening to him. Everything he says, boils my blood. I mean, even when just hearing him talk about how 14,000 will retire, well, there's no guarantee those 14,000. He said 14,000, didn't he?
Yeah,
I think that was his number there. There's no guarantee those 14,000 will retire in those 5 years. People can go past their retirement years. There's all sorts of things. So it's first of all, there's no saying that number is certain, and he's still saying that those retirements will happen. They will not replace those jobs. Doesn't make it any better.
No. Well, I'm going to try this again because I really now want to play this interview with Jim Gallant because of what we were just talking, because this fits in exactly with what they were saying. And this was on CPAC. Let's see if I can do it because I'm not sharing the media player. So maybe this will work this time. Okay. Share audio. Okay, we'll share that tab. There we go. Oh, I'm excited. Let's make it big. And let's see, maybe we can hear it. Zoom it back here. Seems really loud.
Well, let's continue the conversation now with Jim Gallant, a negotiator for the Canadian Union of Postal Workers. Jim, thanks for coming to the studio.
Thanks for having us in.
Listen, there's a couple of things I want to address from you of what we just heard. But first, I want to begin with a more broad question. So here you are. You're now out on strike. Are you worried that all you're really doing at the end of the day is proving Canada Post irrelevant to Canadians by stopping service?
Well, we're not worried about that, really. You end up with, we're hearing from mayors, premiers, the public saying that they want their service, and you're hearing from small businesses on all the stations that they're not going to survive without Canada Post, because we are the right deal. I won't say the cheapest deal, but we're the right deal in town. They use us, they depend on us, and we want to be there serving them. We don't want to be on strike, but we've been forced into this position by the government and by Canada Post, and it's a really big problem. People are pointing it towards the union instead of pointing it where the problem's coming from.
Okay, and I don't know if you include the minister in that, but we heard from Minister Lightbound last week, and he says the corporation is losing millions of dollars each day, $10 million each day. How is that sustainable?
It's not, that wouldn't be sustainable, but you've got to remember that we've been in a legal strike position since last November, and that's been hanging over the post office all year long. Postage went up in January, and Canada Post actually in the first 2 quarters had over $370 million in new revenue. But because they've got this cloud hanging over us, they won't sign a collective agreement. They say they're losing money. You'd have to think they say 10 million. It's almost an Austin Powers movie when they say it, because what's the real number? What are they losing? They're always using big numbers to try and scare the public.
You don't believe in the numbers?
I don't believe it's $10 million. I believe they're losing money because we're in a strike position, and fewer customers are using Canada Post, and we're still working, right?
Except, we just heard from Canada Post, and they say the very fact that, less people are using it on a daily basis, they as the population grows, at the end of the day, it's untenable, and they need to make rather substantial changes, not just tinkering on the sides, but fundamentally make changes to the corporation. And that does mean a workforce that's adaptable or willing to be adaptable. Are you?
We only go to houses that have mail or product and businesses that have mail and product each day. That's the only ones we're paid to. It's done by a percentage basis. We don't get paid for places we don't go to, and in the 1980s, we had probably about 15,000 more workers, and in the last few years, we've had about 5,000 more workers. We're somewhere around 50,000 workers now. It's less. Routes get reevaluated when there's less mail to sort. There's less sorters. All those things are happening. There's fewer postal workers than there's ever been, and that happens naturally in a fluid motion. And Canada Post, instead of dealing with it that way, is now trying to make major cuts to service. Canada Post shouldn't get to decide what the service is. The government shouldn't get to decide what the service is. Customers and Canadians should get to decide if their mail is going to get to the door. If I send you a parcel or you send me a parcel, I bet you we both expect that parcel to come to our door, somebody to knock, instead of it going a kilometer or two down the street.
But would Canadians push back at the cost? Because again, to listen to Canada Post, they've talked about the bargaining that they've gone under. They talk about the economic pressure. They want to explore things like a defined contribution plan rather than defined benefits.
I just wanted to stop for a sec, because once again, we're all circling around this thing of we're not talking about getting sales again. And I wish it would get out of the mouths of everybody. The problem is we're pushing the business away. There was also about the door-to-door thing. And I find it very funny that everyone is so easily accepting getting rid of the cheapest option. We're the cheapest option. And it's like, everyone's like, whatever, I don't care. I can go get my parcel at a box or whatever. I don't care anymore. I don't need it to my door. I want Amazon to come to my door and all those others to come. But I really don't want Canada Post. I'd rather pay a lot more money for it to come to my door, and I'm okay to not pay anything anymore because there's no options. There's no other options anymore because now prices will always fluctuate. Where Canada Post was pretty regular, right? Like they don't understand what they're getting rid of. Yeah,
that's the power of propaganda. That's the power of media. And I find that when I come across those arguments, when people are saying that, I feel like they've just heard from the news and they're repeating what they know. Yeah. But when you have those conversations, it's just like with organizing. It's an awkward conversation, but you have to have it. And then you can ask a few questions and people don't end up there. For example, it's the same thing that I'm feeling with the small businesses when you're hearing the CFIB, the Federation of Independent Businesses, saying that they're dismayed by the fact that we're on strike, and at the same time, they rely on Canada Post to keep things as cheap as possible. So the things that they're advocating for are the things that are going to keep their businesses away from the cheapest price and the cheapest cost. So unfortunately, that's what happens when you let the media infiltrate as much as possible, and you don't get your message out as much as possible, and then lobby those same people. Because I feel like it's a conversation with the CFIB. If you want this to be cheaper and for it to be sustainable for you, because we agree that small businesses, middle-class businesses are better than large conglomerations, that you should stick with, Canada Post and the public service to get you there instead of fighting against it. So no, I can see it, and I see people arguing against it all the time, but you have a 5-10 minute conversation with them and it changes, and that's what's lacking.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's so logical, the things that are wrong. So I'll just play this again. And I'm really excited because Jim's going to say something that I just found out about today about some job postings.
Plan for retirement. And they say that the union has not been very flexible on that. What do you say to that? Because I hear what you're saying. Yeah, Canadians want to get their parcels, but they also don't want to feel like they are supporting a business that cannot, at the very least, break even.
The minister told Canada Post to fix the management side of it too. They haven't hired any letter carriers lately or clerks lately, but I can tell you today on Canada Post's site, there's a job for a manager of change. So they're going to add more managers because the minister says there's going to be change instead of using the managers they have, because those managers don't know what they're doing. That's the problem at Canada Post. Doug Ettinger came in somewhere around 2018-19, and Canada Post says they haven't made any money since. That they've been living off of what was in the cupboard, and now they've borrowed money from the government. That's the first time in my 37-year career the Canadians had to loan Canada Post money. So I have to say that it's the management of Canada Post that's the problem. We agree that we are in a problem right now, and what they say is it doesn't matter how we got there. Well, how do we get out of it with the same people that got us there? That's the problem.
So how do you see this working its way through?
We at this point, we want the government to back off on the cuts to the service, because if they cut the service and I'm no longer bringing you your parcel to your door, there's other delivery outfits that will do that, and that's what businesses and Canadians want. So if they cut that service, we're going to get fewer parcels, and it will be a self-fulfilling prophecy. So we need that service level. And then if the government has made a line in the sand last week, and obviously the employer sees that and is emboldened by it. They were going to make us an offer last Friday. They took that offer back, and now they're going to make a different one. Do you think it's going to get better? I don't.
So is this dependent to end the strike? Is this about the government stepping back from its cuts, or the mandate it's now given Canada Post, or is this about Canada Post putting forward a proposal for workers that you're going to be happy with?
Well, there's two things there. So the first thing is that if we get a collective agreement that works for postal workers, obviously and it needs to be ratifiable by the membership, that will settle the strike. But there still will be a fight around what Canada or what the government has said they're going to do to slash the service. I saw a small town mayor in Ontario yesterday on TV. I've seen a number of business people saying that Canada Post is needed. The government hasn't listened to them, and the government's list of slashes that they made on Thursday is Canada Post's Christmas wish list from last November. It's not the government's. It's not the government making policy. It's Canada Post management making policy, and the government following them.
Jim Gallant, I always appreciate the time. We'll speak again. Thank you for this.
Thank you.
Oh, you're muted, Jim.
Right. Forgot about that. So another good segue. Jim was talking about this small town guy being interviewed by CBC. So this is the interview, and I'm going to go right into another customer video. And the second video we'll see. When I first watched it, I got quite emotional about it because what I was watching was someone being totally destroyed by, like we said, propaganda. The fear that the fear mongering that's been happening the last 9 months, and then finally this person decides that they're going to trust us and ship something, and then we go on strike, right? And it always seems to backfire for us somehow. But anyway, I just want this person to know out there that we do care, and we don't want this happening to your business. This is why we're fighting for you, because we want this parcel, but we want you to have a cheap option to be able to make more profit and to feed your kids, right? Like, I get it. We don't want you to have to use Purolator and all the rest, because they just want to skyrocket your price, your costs. They don't care about you. They claim they are. They're giving you a 65% discount right now for 12 months. But that's going to end in 12 months. And I don't know if they're going to give you, because they seem to be recycling this 65% deal over and over and over. So they're going to have new people making a little bit of money off a whole bunch of people for 12 months. And then all of a sudden they'll be making a lot of money from those people. But then they've had a cycle of more customers coming in at that price. So I don't know how they're doing all this marketing. But anyway, the point is for the customer out there that's listening to this, you need us, because your business will thrive with us. It's not going to if we let Purolator take over. So this is the... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Jim, I'll make one quick comment.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is that with the cuts to the postal service, it is a state-owned enterprise. It is something that we all own as people. This is something, it's a public service that serves communities. And what people that haven't heard the other side, that only listen to the media, don't understand is that it's the cuts to the service that are the biggest problem here. Obviously, we do not want to lose our jobs, and that's a huge part. This is a threat to labor, but it's also a major threat to the public service. And when you have members being in the, letter carriers in the neighborhoods, when you have post offices in the small communities, you have the hubs that people can be at and get the services met. And of course, when we're talking about what can we do to make money, well, of course, the Delivering Community Power campaign has proposed many things that can bring tons of revenue that they decide not to look at. But that's so that we can keep the public service in place, because like you said, it's the only way we can keep costs low, wages high, and benefits high, is through, unionized work, through a public service. And that's exactly what large international companies like Amazon do not want when they're trying to install their business in these countries and, do the things that they do. They want it based on their model. It's no coincidence that we hear them talking about flexibility, adaptability. We heard that from the reporter there. That's all code words for gig work. The idea that Canadians want to be able to have flexibility with their work so that they can choose when they work and all that, that's just code words for gig work. So ultimately, they want to take out the state-owned enterprise, the public service that keeps jobs really good for people, and it keeps wages high. They don't want that. They don't want that in our country.
No. That actually triggered something. The community hub, the pilot. I had someone ask me, they had heard, and I don't know where they heard this, that the community hubs that they've already established are losing money, and there's no proof that they're actually doing anything good. What is the deal with those pilot projects? Was that the ones where we don't have the access to the information? Is that?
We don't have a lot of access to that information. The community hubs were put in I think it was around 2021, and they were in Nova Scotia, I believe, or definitely out east, and the other one was in High River, Alberta. And the community hub was an idea that came from Delivering Community Power. There was obviously robust discussion between the employer and CUPW in getting those done. They used our language, which is okay, because that's all going to be the same anyway. Ultimately, we want Canada Post to implement these things. But those community hubs, which they were extremely well-intentioned, because I believe they came from a right place based on our consultations, they obviously weren't implementing things like postal banking and electric vehicle charging stations and all the stuff that was still to be piloted, if not done at all. So those
they can't even get the charging stations for our own trucks. So
exactly. So when we were talking about what a community hub could be, the vision for a community hub, they were not able to implement that whatsoever. It was based on their own vision, which was mixed with our vision. And like I say, well-intentioned. It had places for Indigenous culture, for things to be sold, for their language to be utilized. All of that was good and well-intentioned. But unfortunately, without the pillars of Delivering Community Power in those community hubs, they weren't going to be the same type of success that we were trying to forecast. That was a major problem with, they were proposing, the TD Bank, My Money Loan, and all these different things that were going on. And all of that was just, a way to make it look like they were doing something and not actually the actual work. So it wouldn't surprise me if they were saying that they were losing money. It would be the same thing as them saying, we're out of the TD Bank thing all of a sudden. They just cancel it after they make us believe they're actually looking into that type of thing.
Interesting. Lip service, huh? All right, well, let's watch this clip from CDC.
Leaders of remote communities and First Nations are speaking out after the federal government called for major service cuts to Canada Post. Changes, Ottawa says, are aimed at ensuring the survival of the Crown Corporation, which has lost billions of dollars in recent years. The union representing postal workers, which has been in negotiations with Canada Post on a new contract, responded to the reforms by going on strike.
They want to roll back a lot of services that Canadians depend on, and we're ensuring that they're held accountable for it.
Ottawa announced Thursday it will allow the Crown Corporation to end home delivery to the 4 million addresses that still get it. The government is also lifting a 1994 moratorium on closing rural post offices that applies to nearly 4,000 locations. And Ottawa says Canada Post can move non-urgent mail by ground instead of air. This isn't sitting well with Cheryl Matheson. She's the deputy mayor of Sheridan and president of the Northern Association of Community Councils, which represents 48 Northern Affairs communities in Manitoba.
We don't have home delivery. We do not have FedEx or Purolator or anyone. We only have Canada Post. So this could be very detrimental to our communities.
Matheson isn't alone. Harold Fleming is the mayor of Meadow Portage, which is home to around 80 people.
Definitely a bad move to eliminate mail in rural communities because there's just no other choice for us.
No one is saying which rural locations will close. A government official says the move is meant to reduce the number of postal outlets in overserved areas while keeping the ones in rural, remote, and Indigenous communities where they're needed. Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs Grand Chief Cairo Wilson worries any changes will disproportionately affect First Nations. Many rely heavily on Canada Post for deliveries, including medication.
There should never be a decrease in those services. There should not be a negative impact to the services that our isolated remote First Nations communities are currently receiving.
Canada Post has 45 days to give the federal government a cost-saving plan.
Jim, you're muted again. Sorry.
Oh, boy. Yeah, so finally something from CBC that sounds kind of fair, I tell you.
Yeah. Well, it definitely was. It was nice to hear that they were showing that people are saying what it means to them because, I mean, for those of us that have heard me talk about hands off my post office, that's something that was, was in the works and was hoping that that would get done because I believe that people need to understand what it is that Canada Post means to them, whether it's the small businesses or the Indigenous communities or to the north. It really is a lifeline. When we were at the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, we had members of councils from Nunavut and all over the country saying that, without Canada Post, we won't get anything.
Yeah.
And so, I think that's what people don't understand is how it disproportionately, they were mentioning how it disproportionately affects rural, remote, and Indigenous communities, but cutting a public service disproportionately affects all communities. And that's why, compared to the money savings that they're going to get, not just a number. So anyway, it's interesting to see that. And it was sort of in our favor, but, we need to see more of that.
Well, now let's go to the one that's hard to watch. This is the small business owner who, we'll let her talk. Hopefully it'll work.
So I guess 2025 is just the year of everybody crashing out on fucking TikTok because Canada Post just walked out. For those of you that don't know, I'm an indie author from Canada. I'm a single mom. And my entire income is based off my book sales. And I now have 90 books that have left the Amazon facility that I just paid $200 for a P.O. box, okay? Because Amazon kept fucking up my books and leaving them on my step and shit. And throwing them around and I'm getting damaged. So I was like, to be safe, I'm gonna go get a Canada Post office box. So I just spent $200 fucking earlier this week to do that. I changed all my shipments to arrive at Canada Post. And everybody just fucking walked out of the job. All the Canada Post workers just walked out or whatever the fuck they're doing. So I now have 90 books. 90 books that I've paid for that has come out of my bank account that I need for events for October. 90 fucking books that are now in limbo. Because of things that are completely out of my control. And I had another 200 and some ordered that I literally ran home and jumped on my laptop after talking to the lady at Canada Post because I was sending a return. And I ran to my laptop and thank fuck I was able to change my address for the other 200 books that I have ordered, but now they have to show up at my house when I'm out of town, which was the whole point of paying the $200 for the fucking P.O. box. And now I might not have enough stock for all of the events that I have booked for the end of October, and these are the biggest events that I've ever booked as an author and in my career. And now I might not have enough books for those events, which means I'm not going to be making money off books that I don't have. This is my livelihood. And I'm so fucking angry. Like, I don't even know what to do at this point. Like, I have to try to find family members that can maybe come and pick them up and hope that it's not gonna rain, but that is like $2,300 worth of books. And that's why I got the P.O. box in the first place, so that the books would be protected, but I had to change the address because if I didn't, then they would end up in limbo with the other 90 that I have no idea when I'm gonna be getting. So it's fine, I'll just go fuck myself, Canada Post.
Yeah. And this is Doug and Ian and the other vice presidents. This is what you're doing to Canadians. Not, you think, she says the Canada Post people walked out, but they don't even understand, dude, that you're making the decisions. It just drives me crazy to watch someone go through this. I like I said, I had a music store. I know what it was like to get these shipments damaged and all that stuff. And it just, because not only is this happening to her, and I, as far as I'm concerned, we should be back working tomorrow because our boss should have brought us an offer last week. Like, I wish, like, people have to realize that they are torturing you as much as they're torturing us by making everybody wait. Even Haydu, even Patty was saying, bring an offer, guys. Yesterday, I think she said something in the House about, can you bring an offer swiftly? How about, no, get in there today and bring them an offer. This is garbage. Like, how long do you need to retool something? We know what the retooling is. It's take away anything that would benefit the worker is what it is, because now you really think you got the government on your side. And I mean, I am talking to Doug directly every time I speak, just so you know, Doug. Like, anyway, this is what you're doing to people. You are destroying them, because we could be back to work tomorrow and she'll get her books, no problem. Like, this is the thing. This could all be ended. And I mean, us workers, we don't want to be in hot trucks sweating to death so that, you know, your mail's soaking wet. Like, all these little things we don't want to happen. And it's just, well, this is why we're fighting back. This is why what I like about what's going on with this couple of day old retooling and restarting of our strike is that there's a lot more there's a lot more of us out there creating media right now, and we're really going hard on the topics that we were missing out, I think, last time, which is the Purolator thing and the stockpile, all those things that are in my disclosure, basically all the things they've been doing and the mismanagement of the money. I think those messages are finally getting out because we are hammering them. And sure, they can have their CBC and their CTV, but it's starting to get into a cycle with them. And I think some Canadians aren't buying it anymore. I think we'll see, but yep. No, well, the Toronto president had an interview that was really
Canada
good.
Post
So
workers are
watch
on their
that.
second nationwide strike in the last 12 months, with picket lines already up in Toronto. The Canadian Union of Postal Workers are furious about Ottawa's planned reforms for the corporation.
Vicious attack on postal workers, and with the aim to doing maximum damage to them. Tomorrow morning, the National Union was supposed to be meeting with Canada Post to receive their latest offer, the latest global offer. So nobody knew that this press conference, which was taking place today, was going to be of such a nature.
Ottawa is directing Canada Post to lengthen delivery times and door-to-door delivery and close postal offices that are no longer needed. The government says reforms are necessary to save a service that's losing $10 million a day. But the union argues Canada Post's financial situation is not as dire as is being represented. Professor Steve Tufts at York University says there are several issues at play with this work stoppage.
The debate is twofold. One is how do you manage that transition, and how do you treat workers fairly in the midst of technological change and declining volumes? And that's something workers want to stay in. The second thing, which is always forgotten, is we talk about cost cutting and cutting the labor. But Canada Post has also not managed anything very well to increase revenue streams.
Haha, see, exactly. And finally, someone says that. They're not doing anything to increase revenue streams, and they're just letting it drop and fear-mongering that we're going on strike to push it all away, and then stuff like that poor lady with her books happens. Right? It's annoying. Yeah. Now, I have one last video here that I don't know what it is. What is it? Uh-oh. Do I want it? It's 2 minutes, and it won't show me on the preview. All right, let's see what it is. I didn't actually rename it, so we'll see what happens. Unless I've already
from this
played
perspective. People are talking about Canada Post as if it is like a sole corporation like FedEx or UPS. It's not. It's a service. So when want to talk about the Canada Post, I'm a Canadian small business owner, and I want to talk about the Canada Post strike because not enough people are talking about it from this perspective. People are talking about Canada Post as if it is like a sole corporation like FedEx or UPS. It's not. It's a service. So when we're talking about it not making a profit, that's good. You don't want one of your services to be making a profit off you, similar to a hospital, firefighters, police. Canada Post is essential because it is the only shipping company that ships within a reasonable amount to a ton of Indigenous communities up north in Canada. When we're talking about the territories, I have an order right here for none of it. To ship with Canada Post would be $40. To ship with its competitors like FedEx, it is $218. There are rural spaces up north in Canada that cannot get access to medicine and food without Canada Post. So it's not just about you and getting your bills and you don't mind getting it through another service or getting them electronically. Canada Post is a life-saving service, and I understand it's frustrating that we're seeing a lot of strikes, and there are many things that you can critique, but a lot of the discourse going on right now is that we should eliminate Canada Post as a whole. The other thing that happens if we eliminate Canada Post that runs at a loss, these other billion-dollar corps like FedEx, UPS, etc., their prices are going to go sky high because they no longer have to compete with a service that is not making a profit. If you're advocating to get rid of Canada Post, then you likely haven't considered the things in here, and if you have, you're probably just a bad person. We should be fighting to keep Canada Post. Even if the service isn't perfect, and even if there are things within the company that you can critique, which I know there's a lot for me, but we as a community should be advocating. We're being fed a lot of propaganda that is like anti-union, anti-worker, anti-establishment, all of these things that just don't make sense. You're being fed information because it will benefit very rich people to get rid of Canada Post. If you are a working class person, don't take the red pill. Talk about all of these intricacies that are essential in this service. And if you're following us right now, we are using FedEx as our courier, but this is really frustrating because there are times that we do use Canada Post because it's significantly cheaper, and right now we are unable to ship to these rural communities up north.
All right. Well, that was Brother Brom, my co-host. And for those of you who want to get a hold of me here at the show, if you have questions, make sure you give me a call at 1-873-371-5886 right there, and email piratejim_72@pseudomail.com. And also the whistleblowers, if you have evidence of anything or stories like the videos that we were showing from the small business owners, that's evidence. That's evidence of what they're doing to us. The propaganda, for instance, of how you finally put your trust. You thought, okay, these guys aren't going on strike. I'm finally going to put my trust and use them again. And then, unfortunately, we had to walk out. But that is not because of you, the customer. That is because of the government and the boss in collusion. So anyway, that was the whistleblower. I didn't talk about it. So make sure you send your information to the whistleblowers. All right. Well, we'll see you in hopefully 24 hours. We'll see how things go with video editing. That's the problem. If I had a large crew, we would be here at the same time every day. But, you know, that's how it goes. All right, hui ho kako. We'll see you soon.
The the Silver Bullet Podcast with your host, letter carrier, and shop steward, Pirate Jim.
My daddy was a miner, and I'm a miner's son. And I'll stick with the Union till every battle's won. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side are you on?